Week 11, lessons learned. So much to go over this week. What a weird week. Not a very high scoring week. A bunch of high scores from no names, some guys we never heard of, and guys just came out of completely nowhere. Some good, a little bit more bad than we would have hoped for this week. A couple of big injuries that hit us. And yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. The first game we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about the man himself. And we're going to talk about Tet McMillian. But first, we're going to talk about the guy who was thrown to him just when we thought that the Panthers may be in the market for a quarterback this offseason, which I think that they maybe still be. This maybe just be a fluke. But Bryce Young torches one of the better pass defenses in the NFL with the Falcons, going for 448, 3 touchdowns. But most importantly, Tet McMillian explodes for 130, 2 touchdowns on 13 targets. This was the game we've been waiting for, and we got it. He had 2 touchdowns before this game. It was against Dallas. Not a very good defense, and he did it against a really, really good pass defense when we needed it the most. These are the crucial weeks that we're looking for these rookies to break out. Like I said, I'll pull up this just chart that Ron Stewart has with the rookies who average about 17 or more points per game from week 9 or 10 on through the rest of the season. Ted McMillian looks like he's going to be that guy. He's going to be a league winner. Hopefully that Bryce Young can keep this up. He generally performs well. He performs better down the stretch of the season towards the later half of the season, so we hope that Bryce Young can keep it up. But yeah, this is what we've been waiting for. And I hate to ruin the excitement, but we got to talk about a couple of pretty significant injuries. And the first one is Michael Penix. Yes, he is out for the season, had knee surgery, not good. Kirk Cousins looked really bad. And this is a big hit for the Falcons pieces. In the first case, Drake London, who was also banged up in this game, he has a PCL injury. He could miss week 12. I think he's trending towards missing week 12 and possibly even more. Apparently, PCL injuries completely zap your quickness, and that's not good, especially a guy for Drake London who doesn't necessarily rely on his quickness as much, but it hurts to have it zapped even more. But yeah, Kirk Cousins stepping in is just not good for the Falcons at all. You don't even really want to start Darnell Mooney. You don't want to start Kyle Pitts. They didn't have very good chemistry. The only guy you can really start is Bijan Robinson on a week-to-week basis. But yeah, that's all for the Panthers and Atlanta. So let's move on to the Bills and the Buccaneers. Actually, one of the better games of the week, maybe the best game of the week, most exciting one, and it was a super high-scoring one. Josh Allen versus Baker Mayfield. Allen comes out, goes scorched earth. 6 touchdowns, 3 passing, 3 rushing. And yeah, on the other side, the Buccaneers, a lot of the big names didn't do much in terms of, Emeka Egbuka, Tez Johnson had come on lately, Cade Otton. None of them did much, but who did do a lot was Sean Tucker. He had his breakout game. Snap share rose. It's been rising from week to week, and it's the opportunities fall this week in week 11. 21 touches, 140 yards, 3 touchdowns, 46% of the snaps, up from about 33% the past 2 weeks, which was a pretty big jump. He's an intriguing pickup if you watch the waiver video, and he's an intriguing play in week 12 if Bucky were to miss. Like I said, a weird game, though. Other than Josh Allen going completely nuts, James Cook was himself. He was actually more involved in the receiving game. A greater than 46% route participation in 2 of the last 3 weeks. You'd love to see more, but he was able to get going in the receiving game, and it looks like they're starting to use him even more as the season is starting to get into the later phases as the games become more and more important. He's trending up, I think. I think this was a positive that we wanted to see from James Cook. We want to see him get used in the receiving game. Looks like he was. No more Ty Johnson, please. But yeah, going to the receiving options on both sides, Tyrell Shavers and Sterling Shepard were the receiving leaders on this team. Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch. I don't know what's going on there exactly, but if you couldn't play him a couple weeks ago, you definitely can't play him now. He's just not even, getting on the field at all. Just a weird all-around game for both sides. Emeka Egbuka is still a guy I consider a league winner, just like Tet McMillian in that same category. He's going to be just fine. Tez Johnson, I'm a little bit worried about. He didn't look as good this week, but he's probably going to be a boom bust guy. He's he's a fringe top 36 option. So moving on to the Texans and Titans. Probably the most boring game of the week. Sure, I'm biased. I'm a Texans fan, but yeah, I honestly don't think it's a discussion. This game was bad from the start. Nobody could score. The Texans could not score in probably the worst team in the league, probably the worst team in all of football. The only positive takeaway that you can take from this game is that Nico Collins got home. He had a good game. And Woody Marks continued to dominate this backfield, continued to take most of the snaps. Nick Chubb really isn't playing a ton, which is great to see. We want to see that turn in the later half of the season for Woody Marks down the stretch here. On the Titan side, Calvin Ridley's out for the season. He got hurt again. I feel awful for him. He had just got back from an injury. Io Manner's hurt. He hurt his ankle. Shamir DK, the other rookie who stood out a little bit this year, concussion, not going to be available for this next week. It's brutal for Cam Ward. You can't start any Titans, not even Tyjae Spears or Tony Pollard. They're pretty much useless. And same with the Texans. Unless your name is Nico Collins or Woody Marks, you can't be started at all. Jaden Higgins has started to get more involved. He has 7+ targets in 3 of the last 4 weeks, but the Texans offense is not going to be, or the Texans passing offense is not going to be good enough to, you know, hold up Jaden Higgins to the level that we might have thought at the beginning of the season. So, yeah. Also, Stroud may miss week 12, and it looks like he is going to miss week 12. I'm not sure what kind of concussion he has, but yeah, I think Davis Mills and Nico Collins seem to have a good connection, so you have to feel good there. But Woody Marks, kind of a boom bust RB3, low in RB2 play. And yeah, that is all for the Texans and Titans. Moving on to the Bears and the Vikings. Like I said, a lot of ugly football this week, and it continued with this Bears and Vikings game. Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy really didn't contribute at all. They contributed a lot to this narrative, and they didn't complete more than 50% of their passes at all. They didn't throw for over 200 yards in this game. McCarthy finished with 2 pretty key picks in this game. He's not even able to lift up Jordan Addison or Justin Jefferson to be serviceable plays each week. Jordan Addison saved his day with the touchdowns. Other than that, these two were pretty useless. Roma Dunze as well had a rough day, but I expect him to pretty much be the alpha in this Bears offense. He's going to be a little more up and down, but I think you should be fine with Roma Dunze. But I am worried about Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I am going to be moving them down because JJ McCarthy is a big problem. He looks awful, and I'm not sure what to do with them. Silver lining, though, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, they look to be pretty much holding the keys in this backfield. Swift had 57% of the snaps, 22 opportunities. Aaron Jones dominated 67% of the snaps, a 73% carry share, 18% target share, which is pretty crazy for a running back, and 22 opportunities. So you feel good about Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift being mid to high end RB2s week to week at this point. Moving on to the Giants and the Packers. Unfortunately, Josh Jacobs was able to escape. I shouldn't say unfortunately. Fortunately, Josh Jacobs was able to escape a pretty serious injury, and it looks like he's only going to be out 1 week, maybe 2 at the most, and hopefully he's ready for the stretch run at the fantasy playoffs and for Green Bay's, run to end the season. But Emmanuel Wilson, it's going to be Emmanuel Wilson time in the time being. He got every single touch when Josh Jacobs left the game. He's the guy you want to be picking up on waivers this week. He is my number 1 waiver wire ad. Sorry to spoil that. Tracy and Singletary, pretty much dead even split. They both actually got home this week. Singletary scored twice on the goal line. Tracy led the backfield in carries, though, yards, touches. He had 139 total yards. He looked good. I think you can feel fine about him as a, maybe a mid RB3, a high end RB3, depending on the matchup. Playing from behind a lot. So, I think with Jackson Dart coming back in, I think it lifts the offense up even more. So you feel a little bit better about Tracy, but you just hope that backfield leans more towards him being maybe a 60-40 split than a 50-50 one. So the Packers side, Dobbs leads the Packers in targets. He's a fine wide receiver 3 week to week. Christian Watson had 2 touchdowns. He's looked good the past couple weeks. He saved the Packers numerous times. This wide receiver room is confusing. It's hard to trust, but Christian Watson, I think, is an intriguing pickup. He has some upside, big playability, touchdown guy in the red zone. Josh Jacobs' injury may force Green Bay to throw more. I think that's something to absolutely add. They had an almost plus 7% pass rate over expectation. That means they're passing a lot more than when Josh Jacobs is on the field because they were negative 16% with him in the game. That's pretty significant. Green Bay could be throwing the ball a lot this week. Look to be starting, maybe slotting Christian Watson in your lineup and having Romeo Dobbs there as well. They could be intriguing options because, if the Packers pass 30, 40 times this next week, 35, 40 times, that could be really good for those two, especially how well they've been playing lately. You can start to think about dropping Matthew Golden. Less than 40% of the routes this past week. Not good. Hasn't done anything all year, and I don't expect anything at this point. Maybe it's a miracle and he performs next week and completely breaks out, but I highly doubt it at this point. You can probably drop Matthew Golden. I hope I don't regret saying that. Moving on to the Dolphins and the Commanders. This was the Madrid game. The Dolphins are winners of 3 of their last 4. McDaniels looks like he's saving his job potentially. They fired the GM. They didn't fire him. I think that's a pretty good sign. He might be back next year, which is good for the only really notable fantasy contributor in this game, Devon Achane, 165 total yards, 21.5 fantasy points without a touchdown. He's a stud. RB1, top 3, top 4 running back every single week. Nothing changes there. Waddle is also the guy I think that you really the only other reliable guy in this game you should be starting every week. He'll be fine going forward. He actually had a couple key drops. A big, not a big passing script this game. They were running the ball really well and they were playing good defense. So that's not normal from the Dolphins, and I don't expect that to continue. They're probably going to play in from a lot behind, so Jalen Waddle's going to be just fine. Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt is officially droppable. Chris Rodriguez is his lead back. He had 45% of the snaps, a 54% carry share, and 16 touches, plus he found the end zone. He's also a guy that you're going to want to be looking to pick up as a potential streamer or, low-end RB3 week to week, leading this Commanders backfield, although it's not great. Deebo Samuel, without Terry McLaurin, I think is still in that wide receiver 3, low-end wide receiver 2 territory. He found his way to the end zone again. He had 7 catches for 74 yards. He looked good. I think that's pretty nice. Marcus Mariota seems to be keeping him afloat for now, but we'll see when Terry McLaurin comes back. But I think until then, Deebo Samuel's a fine play. You can feel decent about him as in your flex or as a wide receiver 3. So moving on to the Steelers and Bengals, a game that I thought was going to be a shootout. It was not. There was a lot of disappointments in this one, and the biggest one being Jamar Chase. He did absolutely nothing, but he did spit on Jalen Ramsey. So okay, whatever that was about, and it turned into a suspension for Week 12. So Jamar Chase owners, if you're scrambling, you need a win this week. I do not hate the idea of trading away Jamar Chase for someone just as valuable who can help score you fantasy points this week, because there's 3 weeks left into the fantasy playoffs, and you cannot afford a guy like Jamar Chase missing this week. It's a huge bump for T. Higgins, who's going to get all the volume with Jamar Chase gone. On the Steelers side of the ball, Jaylen Warren went down with a pretty nasty ankle injury. He said he could have returned to the game. They said he possibly could have returned, but he never took another snap. I think the doctor said it looked kind of ugly. It could require him to miss time potentially. And if so, that's wheels up for Kenneth Gainwell, who got absolutely everything in this game. We saw him back in Week 4 perform really well in a spot where Jaylen Warren went down with injury. He had, I believe, a 26% target share, had like 81 yards receiving, 2 receiving touchdowns, like another 7 catches. So he was a stud. Chase Brown on the other side for the Bengals, running back, absolute workhorse, 82% of the snaps, 83% route participation, 26 opportunities, is a high-end RB2 going forward. I mean, this Bengals offense, although Joe Flacco didn't play that well, has just been elevated by him, and Chase Brown has been a big beneficiary from it. So I love Chase Brown going forward. He's been really good. Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately, he left this game with a slight fracture, it looks like, in his left wrist, his non-throwing hand. He could play this week, I don't know, but it's probably detrimental for DK Metcalf, who, if already wasn't really super intriguing on a week-to-week basis, very, very boom bust in a passing offense that is not very good. Joe Burrow was back at practice this week. I don't think it's as significant as other people think. The Bengals are 3-7. The season is lost. There's really not much to play for at this point, and I doubt they want to risk, injuring him even further. So, but that's something to note. The Bengals may do something silly and try to play Joe Burrow. So that remains to be seen there. He could be a nice stash on your IR slot because I believe he's still in the IR. If he comes back, probably a guy you want to put in your lineup. Jaguars and Chargers. Another weird game this week. The Jaguars absolutely destroyed the Chargers, who I thought were on a roll. Just another example of how anything could happen on any given Sunday. Chargers were rolling. Jags were trending down after that loss to the Texans. But a name emerging in the Jaguars backfield who helped them propel them to victory this week, Bashal Tutin, the most significant run of the season, was a 50-50 split in his favor before he left with an ankle injury. That's something to monitor. But he had 15 opportunities before leaving with injury. He's probably going to get more involved in the weeks to come. Travis Etienne's probably going to be trending down just a little bit if this split gets even closer. They have a bye in Week 12, by the way, in the terms of the Chargers case. Amarian Hampton possibly back Week 13. But yeah, better days ahead for the Chargers. Justin Herbert and other, Chargers wide receivers. Aronde Gadsden's going to be just fine. Not worried about him. But yeah, Bashal Tutin and Travis Etienne, that's a split you want to be looking at and see who starts. If it starts to, trend in the way of Bashal Tutin and away from Travis Etienne, we'll have to see. But until then, I think that you'll probably roll with Etienne until Bashal Tutin officially emerges as a, multiple week eating into Etienne's role. The Rams and the Seahawks. The NFC Championship game preview was something. I thought it was the game to absolutely watch this week, and it looks like it was. It didn't go exactly how I thought it was. Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions. He did not look great. Stafford did not fill up the stat sheet at all. It was like kind of a defensive game. It was a gritty game. But, the Rams didn't turn the ball over. The Seahawks did 4 times. The Rams squeaked out the win. JSN and Puka did their thing. They're two of the best wide receivers in football. You're not worried about them going forward. They're volume kings, you know, probably 1 and 2 in terms of wide receivers rest of season. Something notable, though, Kenneth Walker leads the backfield this game. He has his best game of the season. Last 3 weeks, he's had 4 or 5 carries inside the 5. The only problem is it's pretty much a split backfield with Zach Charbonnet. I think hopefully it's tilting in the favor of Kenneth Walker, but until further notice, I think that it's going to be really, really hard to start Kenneth Walker unless, you have him. He's going to be ranked as like an RB3 every single week. So until we see that split move in the direction of Kenneth Walker, I don't feel great about him, but you have to feel better after seeing the trend the past 3 weeks of him at the goal line because we haven't seen them do that all season long. So moving on to the 49ers and Cardinals. The 49ers destroyed the Cardinals. This game wasn't really close. Jacoby Brissett goes for like 452, 2 touchdowns in this game. Michael freaking Wilson out of nowhere, 15 catches, 185 yards on 18 targets. Best game of his career. Better game than Marvin Harrison Jr. has had in his career. Just nuts. He had the most receiving yards by any receiver at all this season. Pretty crazy. An arrow up for the Cardinals pass catchers, especially Trey McBride, who also got home this game, had over 100 yards, another 10 catches. If Brissett is slinging it like this, I mean, these guys are going to be ranked even higher, especially Trey McBride, who's probably tight end one rest of the season just based on the outlook right now and how he's been training the past couple of weeks. But Michael Wilson's a great start if Marvin Harrison Jr. misses next week. They're probably going to be throwing the ball out. They play the Rams. But yeah, Brock Purdy returned this game for the 49ers, and we saw great performances from CMC and Kittle. This offense was dominating. CMC and Kittle had all 5 touchdowns. Brock Purdy is going to be probably a fringe top 12 running back now that he's back. Mac Jones was holding up this offense until he got back, and we saw that Brock Purdy just adds a little bit of a different element to this team. Ricky Pearsall also returned to this game. He had a pretty daunting day. I realized it, but I'm sorry I told all the people to start him in the rankings video for the wide receivers, but better days are ahead. He's coming off an injury. I wouldn't worry too much about it. He's going to be just fine. This 49ers offense is really good with Shanahan and now Purdy back, and they look like they're going to be firing on all cylinders going down the stretch of the season. So moving on to the Ravens and Browns. Another gross game. Lamar was not good. The Browns quarterback room is terrible. Shedeur Sanders actually got some run. He did not look great either. Yeah, the only player that really mattered in this game was Derrick Henry. Zay Flowers had a decent game. He had only, I believe 3 catches, though, which is not going to do it week to week. He still cannot find the end zone. That seems to be a problem. In a tough matchup, though, Derrick Henry ran for 122 total yards. He had a touchdown. This feels like a start to a mammoth run to me. Derrick Henry is, a monster at this stretch of the season. I expect nothing less this season. There's really not much to talk about, though. You truly cannot start any Browns week to week other than Judkins. He got all the work, 85% of the carries, 60% of the snaps, but he is still a sub 30% route participation. We want to see him run more routes. I don't know if that's going to happen, but the Browns keep giving him the ball. He's going to get all the volume on this team, and he's really the only guy you want to start, maybe other than Harold Fannin. It looks like him and David Njoku were more even this week in terms of route participation and snaps, so you don't love to see that. But yeah, Judkins is the only guy you can start, and this was a pretty ugly game overall. The quarterback room for the Browns is terrible. So yeah, moving on to the Chiefs and the Broncos. Playoff implications on the line for the Chiefs. They lose another close one to their division rival, and they're on the ropes to miss the playoffs potentially. I believe that they have a 50% chance to make the playoffs. I think they're probably going to end up squeaking in. You can't bet against Patrick Mahomes, but talking about the Broncos side of the ball, we're going to talk about RJ Harvey in his debut as the lead back. Kinda. I hope it goes up a little more, but he had 61% of the snaps. Love it. He led the running backs in route participation at 34%. You would love that to be a little bit higher, but he had 14 opportunities to McLaughlin's 7. McLaughlin got the goal line carry. Frustrating, but I like this. It's a tough matchup versus Kansas City, but it looks like he's most likely going to be the lead back. J.K. Dobbins got put on IR. He's going to be the lead back for a good Broncos team. There's better matchups ahead, but it's better than I expected, to be honest. He didn't produce a ton, but, You love his future outlook. Um, he needs to start getting the goal line carries. If that becomes a trend, I'm going to be a little bit worried. But going over to the Broncos receivers, Troy Franklin has officially overtaken Cortland Sutton. He's a wide receiver one on this Broncos team. He has had a 20+% target share in 5 straight. He's led the team in all those games. He had another 8 targets this week. He had 84 yards and 4 catches. In a tough matchup versus Kansas City, Franklin's a top 30 option every week. He's a low end wide receiver 2, a high end wide receiver 3, pretty much in any matchup, I think, going forward, just based on him and Bo Nix's chemistry. He's going to be rising even more in weeks to come if he continues this output. So, yeah, going over to the Chiefs side of the ball, receiver wise, really they struggle to get going. I'm not worried about Rashee Rice. Travis Kelce looked good, but I'm incredibly worried about Xavier Worthy. He did literally nothing this game. He had 11% target share. He's just a worse version of Jameson Williams. And him and Patrick Mahomes cannot connect on a deep ball. He missed them again on an easy walk-in touchdown early in the game. And yeah, you don't love to see it. I mean, he's not efficient with his targets. Him and Mahomes cannot connect on deep balls. And right now, he's no better than just a high-end wide receiver 3, a boom bust wide receiver 3 week to week, and someone you cannot trust putting in your lineup. And there are plenty of guys that you should be able to play over him week to week until we see something change. So yeah, I don't love to see that for Xavier Worthy. Of course, I'm wearing the Texas Longhorn polo here bravely because we got our butts kicked by Georgia, but we don't have to talk about that right now. Eagles and Lions. It's time to cover the last 3 primetime games. So we're gonna start with the Eagles and Lions. The world champs get it done in ugly fashion. They completely stifled the Lions defense all night. They were in Goff's face all night. Jared Goff in the cold getting against this pass rush was just a recipe for disaster, I guess. But Jameson Williams has continued a strong month. He had another touchdown, 4 catches on 7 targets for 88 yards, of course, and that long touchdown. He will be moving up for sure in the coming weeks. Dan Campbell took over play calling, made him more involved. He loves Jameson Williams. So, yeah, thumbs up for Jameson Williams. He's going to be ranked probably as a wide receiver 2 from here on out. Yeah, not worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown, excuse me. Another notable thing, Sam Laporta was put on IR at the last second, just out of nowhere right before the game or a day before the game. Brock Wright, the backup, got 83% of the snaps and 60% of the routes, and looks like the tight end you want if you're in a deeper league. He's probably a nice pickup. I don't know how much volume he's going to get. There's Amon-Ra there, Gibbs, Jameis Williams, of course, David Montgomery, and he's probably going to be the fifth option. So you don't love to see it, but if you're in a deeper league and you maybe looking to see if someone can come on for a good offense, it's probably Brock Wright. So he's a guy you want to pick up. Just a name to throw out there. The Patriots and Jets. Okay, Mike Vrabel, you cannot put the genie back in the bottle. TreVeyon Henderson had 3 touchdowns, was great again. This is great news for his outlook rest of the season and for his future role when Ramondre Stevenson comes back. He's set to practice this week. I don't know if he's going to play, but if he doesn't, or he does, it doesn't matter. I think there is a juicy matchup this week against the Bengals. Yeah, I mean, please do not put the genie back in the bottle. There's no reason to do so. TreVeyon Henderson looked good. He looks better. His 3 games are better than than Ramondre Stevenson's 8 games. He's been more productive. He is more explosive. So start using him more, please. I pray going forward that TreVeyon Henderson continues this type of usage, or at least close to it. Stephon Diggs, though, trending up. 71% of the snaps, 89% of the routes. It's his highest of the season. He looks to be in full form. And the reason why his snaps have been a little bit lower, his route participation has been a little bit lower, is because he's coming off an ACL tear from last year, and they've been cautious with him. They're gradually ramping him up. He's going to be climbing in the rankings. He was productive again, another 100-yard game. He was great. Wide receiver 1 for Drake May, who is the leader for the MVP right now. And yeah, it's hard to talk about the Jets after talking about the Patriots, but Breece Hall is the only guy you're going to want to start for the Jets. Tyrod Taylor was named the starter, so I think that's good for Breece. He's going to check the ball down a lot more opportunities for Breece Hall, and I think that he's going to perform a lot better down the stretch with Tyrod Taylor. Justin Fields did not do that at all. He pretty much would take off and run instead of check it down to Breece. But yeah, that's for all that game. And finally, to end it off, the Cowboys and Raiders. I mean, there's not much to say about this Monday night game. The Cowboys dominated. All the Cowboys players ate on offense. George Pickens had a monster game. touchdown. CeeDee Lamb had a touchdown. Finally, he got a second touchdown of the year. Big weeks coming for them. The Cowboys defense actually looked a lot better, but the Raiders offense may just be that bad. They couldn't get it done against probably the worst defense in all of the NFL, maybe except for the Bengals. And that's sad because you have Brock Bowers, you have Ashton Genty. I think they'll survive, but everyone else is useless. I mean, they're playing Tyler Lockett out there a lot of snaps, and it's a big yikes for a team that I thought would be competitive and competent coming into this year, and then that has not been the case. So, yeah, Raiders players, unless you're Genty or Bowers, you're not going to want to start them. Cowboys players, yeah, they have a good offense. Their defense is bad, and they're going to play from behind. So you love to see that. So that is going to be all for our Week 11 lessons learned. I will see you guys here in about a day with all the rankings videos and how to get through the Drake London injury and how to manage all the matchups ahead. So I will see you guys next week in week 12.